Before we really get into things, I want to give everybody a little bit of background. I graduated from SMU in 2020, and afterwards I started working at JP Morgan as a data analyst. A month after that, I met my co-founder and we started building an MVP. That MVP turned into a full-flown product, and we hired 2 developers, and I eventually quit my job. We focused on that for a while, and then we eventually pivoted because we realized we weren't finding product market fit. We took the same product and tried a new market, but again, we weren't solving a problem. And we eventually ran out of money about 3 months ago, and we were starting over, doing user interviews and trying to find a problem. Because we ran out of money, that meant for me, I needed to get a job. So I became a data analyst again. And I figured, well, while I'm doing all these job interviews, I might as well turn them into user interviews too. So in the user interviews, I would ask, what are the top 3 initiatives or problems that you're focusing on? And they would all say the same thing. We want to be data-driven. And we're going to do that by doing 2 things. First, we're going to create self-serve dashboards that anyone can see. And second, we're going to train our people to use those dashboards. Now, most companies are doing this right now, but a few companies have already done it. And they've all ran into the same problem, which is that self-serve dashboards have poor adoption. And the reason for that is because people aren't good at monitoring dashboards, because frankly, other work comes up and they get preoccupied with other stuff. It sounds nice and all to look at a dashboard every day or every week and get updates, but the real fact of the matter is projects come up and deadlines are here to hit, and the dashboards just get pushed to the side. So there's a simple solution to this, which is business intelligence alerts. So when something important happens with the data, it can automatically notify the people who need to know. So an example is, let's say a business's customer hits their usage capacity. Then automatically send a Slack message to the customer success manager, right? So that way the customer success manager can reach out to the customer and say, hey, you've hit your capacity. You might want to consider upgrading or else be prepared because you might get cut off. So overall, the better model is to take the data and take the important things out of it and inform the people, as opposed to having them look at the data and monitor it. So right now, business intelligence alerts aren't brand new. They already exist, but the thing is they're not really popularized. And the reason they're not popularized is because data people are the only ones who can see the ability to create the alerts and define the alerts. But the data people aren't the ones who understand the use cases. It's the business people who understand the use cases. So it's very important that the business people have the ability to define those alerts. So as I mentioned, there are a few other competitors out there. Tableau have their data visualization and dashboard tool. It's possible to send data alerts. However, you can't necessarily manage the alerts all in one place and easily change them on the fly. There are a couple other companies that allow you to do that, Logic Loop and Troops AI. They both have their respective niches, but neither of them allow the end user, who are the business people, to define the alerts. So we've spoken pretty broadly about what business intelligence alerts are, but we want to get more specific. So in user interviews, we found that customer success teams have resonated with this idea the most. So we're focusing on customer success teams who have 3 categories. So first here, they work for tech companies. That's important because tech companies have more mature data that can support this type of application. The second is that they have dedicated data analysts, because there's some still dirty technical work that needs to happen in the background, and we need the data analysts there to do that. And it is pretty common for customer success teams to have these data analysts. And finally, we want to have 20 to 50 accounts per customer success manager, because that's still a lot of accounts to manage, so it's hard to stay on top of them. But at the same time, each account matters a lot. So for customer success managers, how does it work? We help customer success managers proactively manage their accounts. They do that by going to the Orca Chat website, logging in, clicking Create Alert, and then defining a new alert. So here, for example, you can see the alert. Up top, they define it, customer near capacity. This is a simple if-then statement, conditional alert. So if any customer's capacity utilization is above 90%, then alert this person using Slack. So they create that alert, but there's still some more technical work that needs to be handled by the data team. So what the customer success managers do is they create a normal data request and say, hey, technical team, go ahead and complete the rest of this alert. Once the tech team sets it up, it's all ready, and the customer success managers will get alerts in Slack, email, or Teams. And this is important because we see data being more social, so sending that in social areas is important to get those updates. And overall, this really empowers customer success managers to make proactive decisions rather than making reactive decisions and getting in trouble. So data teams still use Orca Chat, and we help data teams save time. So as I mentioned, the customer success managers are the ones who are in charge of defining the alert, and they kind of push it to the data team and say, hey, take care of this. So the data team receives the data request, and then they will create the query in the tools that they're already familiar with, like SQL, R, or Python. In those tools, it will create an output such as utilization per customer, and that output gets sent to Orca Chat via webhooks. And overall, this allows data teams to automate their job, their simple jobs, so they can focus on more high-level tasks. Our business model is simple. We start with a 14-day trial, and then it's $10 per user per month. Users both include business users and data users as well. Right now we're using direct sales via LinkedIn and Slack because it's fast and gritty. In the long term, we are expecting to do content marketing to create awareness around all the types of use cases for this. Once a customer wants to sign up, we run them through an onboarding quiz. That quiz prescribes the most relevant use cases for them to help further create that awareness. And then we see this as a land and expand strategy. We want to focus on customer success managers and land there, but to expand to the rest of the organization because there are so many use cases. So as mentioned, we're early on because we recently pivoted. But in a little over a month, we've made a lot of progress. We've done 30 user interviews to really validate and understand the problem. We're building an MVP that we expect to have completed in 5 months. And we have a really interesting potential partnership with a data platform who's struggling with the same problems we talked about. And they could give us access to over 50 beta customers if all goes well. So there is nothing I can say to do justice to this team. We have all been through the ups and the downs together, and we all have our respective accomplishments. But more than anything, we're extremely, extremely resilient. And finally, we are seeking $50,000. Sorry. If we don't get the money, then we're going to continue with our 2 part-time developers and build our MVP in 5 months. Otherwise, we're going to hire 2 more developers and really speed up our time to MVP and make that down to 2 months. And that's really, really important because that allows us to go to this partnership and say, hey, we're going to be ready with a solution in 2 months rather than a little under half a year. So with that said, that is my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and I'll take some questions.